And welcome back to Little Cuts, our weekly mini-sode where we dig into things that we've been watching recently. I'm Terry.
I'm Mary Beth. This is a mug full of chicken broth because I am on the tail end of COVID, and if I sound weird, that's why. And this week we are talking New Year's Eve movies, cults, the bleakest film either of us have probably ever watched, and so many Chuckies.
So many Chuckies.
Wait, before we jump in though, real quick, did you watch the Evil Dead Rise trailer yet?
Oh my god, I did, and it was everything I wanted it to be.
I just wanted to talk about it very briefly. I know not everyone watches trailers and doesn't want to be spoiled, so you can skip ahead a couple minutes. But man, oh man, I'm so excited. Look, there is not a miss in that franchise so far, so this looks so good. And I think the theatrical release in April also makes me, the theatrical release and then this trailer, I'm like, okay, we're in for a very good time. The cheese grater, I'm gonna I usually don't react that strongly to trailers. I went like this. I couldn't do it. That was so good. I cannot wait for this fucking movie.
I can't either. And the thing is that I was curious to see what we were going to get because it's Lee Cronin, the director, and the only thing that I have really to base his stuff on is The Hole in the Ground, which was a slow burn, and it had some, I think you can see some flair and some similarities maybe in terms of the kind of story that's being told. But I was like, Evil Dead is raucous, and that movie was more contemplative with a little bit of raucous. So I was like, what are we gonna get? But this trailer was like, girl, hold my beer.
I'm so excited. It feels very much like it's gonna be similar Fede Alvarez's 2013 Evil Dead and I'm so excited. I didn't realize this, but people on the Twitter were saying oh, it doesn't matter if it's not Evil Dead 2. I guess people were expecting it to follow in the same form, go. I was like, what? When did we ever expect that? There's no way. I can't wait. I can't wait for them to explain have in the apartment building. There's some already. I mean, I hope they didn't give away everything in the trailer. There's always that concern.
Yeah, there was a lot in there. Brief cuts, but a lot in there.
Yeah, I know. I'm very excited. It looks so good.
Me too. And the thing is, I kept looking at the actresses because they look very similar to the star of Fede Alvarez's movie, and so I was like, that's not. No, it's not. Is there a relation there? Is this gonna be a surprise connection?
Oh,
because they look similar,
and there's something in the wood. There's a woods connection because we see something going on in the woods at some point. So I'm just super stoked. I can't wait. And Evil Dead is one of the most consistent horror franchises out there, I think. So I know there's not a ton of entries, but still, 4 out of 4 is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Some Chucky numbers. Some child's play numbers.
I can't wait. I'm so excited.
I know.
I'm so excited.
Anyway, I just wanted to talk about it because I feel like most of our listeners are also excited. But I want to hear about your New Year's Eve movies.
Okay, so I did get a little inebriated that night. And we started off the night by watching Top Gun Maverick, which I'm not going to talk about because I did not care for it. It was the straightest movie I've ever seen. It was like white culture.
I haven't seen it because I just have no desire to see it. Sorry, everybody. Yeah, I don't mean to be a buzzkill. I just don't care.
I didn't really have much of a desire to see it, but I was like, okay, it's on Paramount Plus.
If you're going to have a good time and interesting. I feel like most people have said they loved it so much.
I know. That's why I was like, I'm going to give it a shot because I'm like, everyone says that they love it.
Did you like the original one?
No, not really.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just military propaganda, the movie. With Tom Cruise before his, teeth? Nose job? Scientology?
Something like that. Yeah, like that. All the above, maybe. Yeah, so that one I didn't care for. And then we sat and watched White Noise, the new Noah Baumbach movie.
Ooh. Wait, Kate, you've never seen the original Top Gun? You're fine. Just watch YouTube videos of the homoerotic volleyball scene, and then that's all you need to know.
That's the best scene of the movie.
That's the best scene of the movie. That's all you need to know.
And that's the problem with this movie, I think, is that they lean really hard on the nostalgia. So I think if you're very nostalgic for that movie, maybe be like, oh, I remember when they did this, because they do a football scene in this one. But it's just it lacks
but I heard it's not as gay. I heard it's not as gay.
It's not sexy at all. Just straight.
Want homoerotic sports montages.
right?
Anyway, the white
But yeah,
noise that
so White Noise might have been a little too inebriated for it. Did not quite understand what was going on. My roommate pointed out that one of the actresses in it looks like a female with her hair and the way she was styled up looked like a female version of Daniel Radcliffe, and I couldn't not see it at that point, and it was distracting. Again, a little too much. It definitely has
nice.
like a Yorgos Lanthimos feel to like the dialogue. It's very monotone. I get they're going for like this mundane type atmosphere surrounded by disaster that's like happening all around them.
Yeah.
So it was like, it felt very long, but again, I think that was because of my state of being that night.
It's also over 2 hours long. So like it is long. It's a long movie.
It is. But I will say that there are some really fantastic horror moments in this movie that surprised me, that I sat back and was like, I feel uncomfortable right now. Like it made me feel, most of them were like dream moments, but there's like this really suspenseful moment that happens when Adam Driver's character is asleep that like we need more of that. He can direct suspense, and it was intense, and there were some really good moments in it. There's a lot going on. He's apparently an instructor of Hitler studies. Don Cheadle.
Based on a book.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Don DeLillo. I cannot remember for the fucking life of me if I read the book or I just read parts of it for a class. I definitely have read parts of it, but I don't think I've read the whole thing.
I've never read it.
Yeah, because I went through like an infatuation with Don DeLillo, because it's like that was one of my postmodern like, literature like stuff. I was like, I love postmodern literature. So I got into him for a bit because of that.
I've never read any of his stuff. But yeah, so like we have that, and then Don Cheadle's character is trying to get a class on Elvis, and he uses Hitler analogies. So it's just like there's a lot going on that I was not in the right state of mind to like be appreciating, I think, in terms of like the satire. It ends with a dance montage through the credits, which I think is always welcome.
We love a dance montages through credits is always a welcome thing. I also don't think you being inebriated was necessarily like the only reason you didn't get it. I feel like a lot of people had mixed reactions to it being like, there's a lot going on here. Also, someone already made this joke on Twitter, so like it's not an original thought, but every time I always think of that horrible Michael Keaton movie from 2006, White Noise.
Oh my god, yes.
The ghost movie. You can see the ghosts in the static. Look, I won't lie to you.
That trailer pulled me in.
It did though. The trailer was scary, and I also still sometimes am like, can I see ghosts in the static of a TV? I still will, if I'm not in a totally sober state of mind. Sometimes I might think that. But that's so funny because Steve and I, like before I came back here, Steve was on Netflix. I was like, I want to watch White Noise, so I'll check it out.
Yeah, let me know what you think.
I just like Adam Driver and Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach. Like they are all talented, but it's just like this class of like hipster rich white people making movies about themselves. That's like kind of annoying. And like I feel bad because I'm excited for Greta Gerwig, for Barbie. Like, I am excited for that. But they all are in, like, the same movies about being, like, white and sad. And, like,
Right,
so
rich
I'm excited
ennui.
Yeah, like, so hard to be me. I live in a New York apartment. My boyfriend broke up with me. Excuse me. But that's why I'm excited for White Noise, because it feels like it's a little bit outside of what Baumbach usually makes. So
I don't think I've ever seen any of his movies. I went looking.
So I love Frances Ha. I loved Frances Ha. 2012. That was like right when I was in college and like trying to find myself and shit. Black and white movie about a girl who's like wants to be a writer. And I was like, she's me. And look, I like Noah Baumbach's movies. I think they're really well made. They're just all very similar. So it gets like at this point in 2023 now, it's like, okay. So maybe he's switching it up with White Noise, but a lot like his movies are so much the same kind of thing. Well made, but upper middle class white people.
I mean, I guess I've seen some of the things that he's written because I have seen Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, which apparently he co-wrote.
Yeah, and Fantastic Mr. Fox, which makes sense. Him and Wes. Oh my God, Wes Anderson. I was like, who is that?
Oh
Similar
no, okay.
sensibilities.
I have seen one of his movies. I've seen Margot at the Wedding. I don't remember much about it, but I remember seeing it
Okay.
because it had Nicole Kidman in it, and I was like in my I must see everything Nicole Kidman ever does phase, which exists to this day. I'm going to be perfectly honest, but was very.
Wait, he wrote Madagascar 3?
I know, right? He is one of the writers on it. There's like two.
Good for him. And he wrote Barbie. I think he's married to Greta Gerwig, or they're like in a long-term relationship. I don't know, but we've talked a lot about Noah Baumbach. I'm not joking. I'm not joking. I am very excited for Barbie.
Oh, I
I'm
am
very
too.
curious. I cannot wait to see whatever is going to happen. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I just don't think I was like ready for what White Noise was giving me, and again,
Fair enough.
the state of mind wasn't the best. So, and maybe that was a positive thing. I don't know. Maybe like I remember sitting there going, I think this is supposed to be funny, but I don't know what's happening. It was very dry, and I don't think I was ready for.
You weren't ready for dry.
I'm like, why are we talking about Hitler? Why are we talking about Elvis and Hitler? Why are you trying to compare Elvis to Hitler? What is going on here? What is happening? Someone help me.
Someone help me. I need an adult. I need an adult. Please and thank you.
I just saw this, speaking of which, I just saw this TikTok that's like, you in your 30s, and I'm not in my 30s anymore, but it's like, help me, I need an adult. Wait, I am an adult. I need someone that's adultier. And that's how I feel right watching that movie. I need someone that's adultier.
You know when I need someone who's adultier? When me and my husband have COVID at the same time.
Aw, seriously.
It's like, oh no.
All right, let's hear about cults. The first of
Okay.
the cults.
So I know. So this is a movie I watched. I tried to watch this movie on New Year's Eve, but because of COVID, I was like, I can't do it because it's subtitles, and my brain was just like not having the concentration. And so on New Year's Eve, I watched No Exit, which I really loved. We talked about it on the podcast, but I really, really enjoyed it. And then I was like, all right, cool. Let's like keep rolling with the movies I wanted to watch this year, but I haven't caught up with yet. Didn't fully fulfill that plan because my brain had other plans for me. But I finally watched History of the Occult, which is it's from 2020, but it came out in the US this year via Screambox. Argentinian black and white horror film that has vibes of like whispers of Ghostwatch. It's not full found footage or like that kind of thing, but it takes place in Argentina in the 1980s, I believe, during a news broadcast for a show called 60 Minutes Before Midnight, and it's a show where the newscaster kind of exposes like investigative journalism about politics. And this is the last show ever of the series due to they're doing too much digging into things going on with the government. Their funding has been cut. Their sponsors have all pulled out. So it's their final show, and they are going to expose the fact that there is a coven controlling the Argentinian government. It almost unfolds in real time through like the course of this this newscast. So we're getting intercutting between the actual broadcast and then the producers of the broadcast who are trying to get answers and figure out like what is going on and if they're actually going to be able to provide actual evidence that something is happening with the government. And it's a little bit hard to parse at first because it's a horror movie, but it's also a political drama. So there's a lot of names and like things to remember that you have to really concentrate to kind of just make sure you're oriented into who is who and what is what and like whose role is what and everything. But as it progresses, it fucking falls into this like cosmic horror nightmare about like, and someone recommended this to me earlier in 2022. I cannot for the life of me remember who did, but I'm so glad I finally watched it. It's incredible. It's A gem of an Argentinian film. It's another one of those movies that really came out under the radar last year. Like, kind of just came out on Screenbox, so no one, like not a lot of fanfare. And I think a lot of found footage people will enjoy it, especially if you like Ghost Watch. It's got, again, similar vibes, but not full, like, all news broadcast kind of situation. But it goes to some really interesting places in terms of cosmic horror, like interdimensional stuff, witchcraft, warlocks. It's weird, but
Wow.
I really, really enjoyed it. So it's on Screenbox. I rented it on Amazon, but if you have Screenbox, it's there. I highly recommend it. It's got really, it's got like, it's black and white. It feels very retro. It's kind of like, what is that? The movie with the radio tower.
Oh.
Vast of Night. It's got
Yeah, Vast of Night.
the Vast of Night vibes in that it is black and white, takes place in the past, and has a lot to do with like communication. And again, very different, but the aesthetic is very similar, and it's really it's gorgeous. So I highly recommend.
I have put that on my radar because of you. I think in our Discord, which plug, we have a Discord, that you posted in there. Watch it, and it was like, what is this? And so I added it to my watch list. I'm glad to hear it's good.
It was a really, really good way to start the year for horror for me.
Hell yeah.
It was my first watch of the year. And I was like, I think I tweeted it was like an auspicious sign for the year to come if that was the first movie that I watched in 2023. So definitely give that one a watch.
Speaking of first and last movies of the year, so I did look at my letterbox, and my first movie that I watched in 2020, I think this explains like the year. The first movie that I watched in 2022 was Exotica, which starting in on a high note, and the last movie I watched of the year was White Noise. So
That's very... Wait, what is my... Now I have to know what my first one was. If it wasn't Exotica, it was something very close, because we watched that.
my first movie of this year was Host, because I'm going to be guesting on a podcast about it. So keep an eye out for that,
Host?
listeners.
Which one?
The Zoom.
Okay. My first watch of 2021 was Horror in the High Desert, which is a found footage movie.
Of 2022? Or 20...
2022 is what I meant.
Oh.
I don't know what year it is. And my last watch was No Exit, which was incredible. So, cool.
Awesome.
But then we also watched another movie. You were going to watch this movie, and then I volunteered to watch it with you because I guess I'm sick. But what was this horrifying movie that we both watched?
Yeah, so again, I think I'm going to put our patrons in timeout with this choice. Because not only was it bleak as fuck, but it also opened up with an extreme close-up of a spider. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
that was bad.
Are you kidding me right now, Tony Kaufman? With your recommendation? Are you kidding me right now? I'm kidding. But yeah, so this is on my Terry's Backlog movie, and it was Threads. And yes, surprise spiders, Kate. Surprise fucking spiders. Every single fucking time. No, do not like. I need to start a letterbox list of movies with surprise spiders in it.
Oh my god, you should. You should have that website, like, does the dog die, but is there a spider?
Is there a spider? Oh my god.
But then you would have to watch the movies to find out if there's a spider. And I feel like that
sounds counterintuitive for me.
I'll help. I'll watch the movies and help you. I'll be the back end. I'll be the tester.
Listeners, too, if you find movies that have surprise spiders in it, hit me up. I want to know, because I do think I'm going to create a list.
I was going to say, you need to make a list. I think that'd be really funny.
At the very least, I'm going to do that.
There's plenty. It's a good resource for those who
Feels like half of our episodes.
Exactly. It's that way from Kate. That way you can remember not to watch them ever again. Yeah.
Never, ever again.
And if you want to get really fancy, hit them with a time code so they can skip through it.
Yeah,
if you're
that's
getting
a little
real fancy.
That's a little extra for me. I don't know if we'll see that. I don't know about all that. But
I don't know about all that. Anyway,
Threads. Nuclear explosions, death, destruction, the working class city of Sheffield, England. Long-term, and I do mean long-term effects of nuclear war on civilization, because I did not expect this movie to continue as far in the future as it did. This movie is a lot.
And I watched it with you because I was like, oh, I need to see it, so I'll go through this hell with you. And I finished watching it an hour ago. And I am currently in a stage of COVID where my stomach is really having some problems. So watching this movie with stomach problems was the worst. I've made some pretty bad movie watching choices. This is skyrocketed towards the top. This movie is fucking harrowing. It's just as bad as you heard.
Yeah.
Fuck. What was the movie we watched?
When the Wind Blows?
When the Wind Blows. So, if you listen to our episode about that, this is worse than that. One, because it's not animated, and two, it goes even further past, like, the initial effect, like, body horror effects, and into just, like, the outright depravity of people. There is not one shining moment of hope in this movie, and I really struggle with, like, war movies because they're real, and, like, people always laugh at me, but I'm like, look, with horror, there is a distance. Like, even with a serial kill, like, there's a distance, but when you're making a movie like Threads that is very much supposed to be like, hey, this could very much happen, like, at any minute, it makes me so upset. I just don't, it's a lot. And this movie really goes for it.
It really does. And I think it's really effective just because of the way it's shot, because it feels like a documentary. There's a lot of, like, information dumps in terms of the town of Sheffield about, like, what is going to happen if nuclear war were to happen. So in that regard, it almost... Okay, so I will say that one of the things that struck me, I don't want to say funny because it's not funny, but, like, it definitely veers into melodrama, I would say, in, like, the last 10 to 15 minutes, where, like, I'm like, this feels like a PSA that we would make fun of, sort of like in the same way of, like, the Weed movie. Why can't I think of the name off the top of my head? Reefer Madness. Sort of like this sort of like
movie.
Reefer Madness, sort of like, we are just going to, like, continually so there were parts of it that I did think was a little over the top. However, this made me fearful of nuclear war in a way that no other movie has ever done.
This also made me realize that, like, it's over. If this happens, I'm gonna just, like, peace out with some dignity and be like, I don't need this. And Kate, I was also terrified of nuclear war as a child. Like, that shit is terrifying. We did this to Japan twice, and I kept thinking about that watching this movie and being like, we did that to 2 cities. Oh my god, you lived near a nuclear power plant, Kate. Absolutely fuck that. But, like, we did that to 2 cities. And, like, that, like, irreparably damaged an entire country and, like, the trajectory of their cultural development. And, like, yes, they are okay. They are what we might call okay now. But, like, I don't know. I was just, like, ruminating upon the actions of the United States against others and how we use that and how it's never been used again, thankfully. But, like, it is horrifying. And this imagines not just, like, the immediate aftermath, but you see, like, how language has shifted and, like, education and everything. And there's a scene at the end that involves sexual assault, and I was like, we don't need this. Like, this is, like, we're getting...
See, and that's where I'm kind of talking about, it goes into melodrama a little too hard, where it's just like, we're just going to add this and then this, and oh, she has to tear off her umbilical cord with her teeth. Oh, and her kid has mental challenges. Oh, and her kid grows up to be raped. Oh, and her kid has to give birth to a stillborn baby. Like, it's just like...
I was expecting there to be more cannibalism. I did expect them to eat a baby at one point. Like,
a lot of dead rats.
But I guess it is the 1980s, and they're not as deranged as we are now. But it was just, at the end, I was like, we get it. We get it. Like, things are going to be a nightmare if this ever happens. But, like, I don't need to see this poor girl who is the generation who has only ever known this and, like, see how horrible her life is. Like, I got it. Thank you so much.
But,
this is miserable. It's a fucking miserable experience.
And what kept popping in my head was, this aired on TV in 1984. This is a made-for-TV movie that aired on TV in 1984, and it has a video of it has a moment where a woman is holding a completely burnt baby, and it's horrifying, and the makeup effects are something else, and I'm thinking this was on television.
The Brits weren't fucking around like this. Then there was Ghostwatch. Like, BBC was wild in like in the 80s and the 90s. I appreciate it a little bit.
There's like stark images of just bodies, dead bodies towards the end, and it's presented
like,
almost as like
maggots in their mouths, like just going around. I was like, what? Okay, what? Stop! I literally had just. I was getting nauseous, and again, like I couldn't tell if it was because I'm currently nauseous due to like my illness, but it certainly wasn't helping me.
No. But it also, like, it did, like, I kept thinking, oh, they are making the same fort that they do in When the Wind Blows. Because there's a moment where a family takes, like, a mattress and makes basically a lean-to in their home, and Fort tries to fortify it. It's just, this movie was a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
It's a lot. But, I mean, I get it. My people like it, and I think it does make sense in terms of like incredibly raw filmmaking from an era where like and playing it on TV, which is and it is wild. But like, Tony, why do you watch this so much, buddy? Like,
it was really good. I mean, it was really well done. But it's like this isn't something I'm going to revisit often, or maybe ever again. Unless someone comes on with like a great story about how this movie fucked him up as a kid. That happens, I'll make the effort to rewatch it.
Have you ever heard of The Day After?
So that aired in the United States, and I vaguely have like recollections of it, but I am not sure if I ever saw it.
I saw it I think I did see it. It was either this or there was something else that I saw in college that was like for my documentary class. That was about, like, it was aired, like, oh, nuclear war had actually happened, and, like, they didn't tell people that it hadn't happened, and it, like, threw people off, and it was in the States. And I remember watching that in class and being like, why do we do these things to each other? Like, we are so, like, us as a society love fucking with each other so much that we put on a fake news broadcast that there was nuclear war and make everyone terrified. Like, what's wrong with us as a society?
Seriously.
Anyway.
Shifting gears completely. Let's talk about...
So much. Just
so
into
completely.
Another stratosphere of different... Yeah.
Let's talk about 1 Chucky, 2 Chucky, 3 Chucky, 4. What'd you think of Cult of Chucky, Mary Beth, as a first-time watch?
So I really liked it. Another hilarious, like, situation of like, oh fuck yeah, curse and bride, and then like, oh, weird, kind of like a stumble, but not as much as Seed. I think I really liked it. I think putting Chucky into a psychiatric ward is incredible because there are so many moments where people are like, you're not real, like I'm schizophrenic, and Chucky's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, there are some really funny moments where that's utilized really well that I very much enjoyed. I don't quite understand why there are, like, I get why there are so many Chuckies, but I don't get why there are so many Chuckies. And I understand that this is probably going into the show and setting up a lot for the show. But regardless of all of that, there's some good fucking kills in this. Fiona Dorff is a queen. I need more footage of Fiona Dorff and Jennifer Tilly making out in the snow, please. I am no better than a man. I do think there's some like really creative kills going on here, and I think there's some really gross things going on here talking about mental health care. Like, there is a therapist in the movie who I love this interplay with him and Chucky when the therapist puts Nika under hypnosis, sexually assaults her, and then Chucky knocks him out and goes, and they call me sick? I can learn some shit from this guy. And I was like, this is incredible writing. I love Donovan Seedy so much. Like, I love Chucky having a sense of justice in this movie because, like, that therapist gets what's coming for him, and the person who delivers the justice says for Nika, and it's Chucky delivering this, saying for Nika, and it is very funny and also interesting to see Chucky having these morals, like, kind of shining through sometimes in a very fascinating way. Like, obviously, we're not supposed to be like, Chucky's a good guy, but there is that kind of little bit of nuance in there that there is a sense of justice for him. And I did kind of like that a little bit.
Yeah, it's weird watching this movie, having seen the first season of the Chucky TV series, because when I saw this because this came out in 2017, so 4 years removed from when the Chucky series first aired, and looking at it now, it definitely feels like a transition episode of a series, right? Where it's like setting up something that's going to come later. But at the time, I didn't even think about it. I was just like, okay, now there's multiple Chuckies, let's go with it. But it definitely feels, walking back, that he is using that as like a springboard to do what he wanted to do with Chucky, the TV series, which, I mean, kudos to him. He just continues to mutate the series, but keep it grounded in what came before in such fascinating ways. Did you stay? I forgot to mention, did you stay for the after credits?
I did, because I was wondering, so I did in fact stay for that.
Did they bring back
excited.
Kyle?
Yes!
From Chucky, from Child's Play 2?
Yes. I was very excited. And, like, I knew she came back in some regard, but I forgot how. And is she in the show?
Spoiler alert, yes.
Okay. I'm even more excited for the show now. Now that I've watched all the movies, I'm very excited. And also, people talk about, like, winter snowy horror. This movie does not come up nearly enough when people talk about snowy horror. Like, they use snow really well in the cold in this movie. Pretty fucking well.
You know, what I was thinking watching this now, especially with, like, some of the split diopter shots and the way it was filmed, I'm like, this is Brian De Palma on a budget. This is hearkening back to a Brian De Palma film. And sort of like the psychosexual, mental, horror type stuff from, like, that era of cinema. Like, that is what this is giving me. The very pristine, everything is so white in this.
So sanitized, yeah.
So sanitized, so white. Everything is so muted. Like, the colors are muted, but then the walls are so bright white. And it just, I don't know, it was giving me that kind of old school vibe. Particularly, I think there's a lot of homages to Brian De Palma in this film in particular.
I didn't think about Brian De Palma specifically, but I definitely see that. Huh.
I also just love Tiffany showing up at the end, and more Tiffany.
Jennifer, I can't keep track anymore. When she like licks the blood off the knife, and I was like, just like love that Jennifer Tilly gets a paycheck for showing up in these movies for like 2 seconds and then disappearing. And there's one point where she comes in to tell Nika that her niece is dead, and Nika goes, "I'm sorry, does anyone told you look just like Jennifer Tilly?" Oh, these movies, they're great. I enjoy them. Again, incredibly consistent franchise, even with the ones that aren't as good. Still incredibly consistent and very entertaining. I'm curious. I have to watch the show, obviously. I'm curious if they'll ever do another movie.
I am too. I hope they do. But, I mean, the show is really giving everything I want, though. So.
Well, we're moving on to the show, actually.
We are. Now. We're going to do 2 episodes a week, I think, because that way it's like we're moving through it at a quicker pace, but also, 2 episodes, it's 40 minutes each. It's an hour and a half a week commitment, so that's not the same as a movie. So, but yeah, you can join along with us as we go through the series 2 episodes at a time. I'm really excited because I haven't watched all of the show yet, so excited to get caught back up.
I've seen part of the first episode of the second season.
I bet you had so many questions at that point, having not seen the series too.
Absolutely.
Because I can't imagine being dropped into the opening of season 2, which definitely
absolutely
is pulling.
No fucking idea what the fuck was going on. But now that I've watched Cult, I'm like, I get it a little bit more now. This has been an awesome watch through of all of these movies. I'm so glad I have finally watched all 7. They are incredible films.
Have you seen the remake?
No, I've not. And I don't really... I know Aubrey Plaza's in it.
She's good in it.
But, yeah.
Mark Hamill is the voice of Chucky. That's interesting.
I mean, yeah, I just, you can't beat the derf. Can't beat the derf.
So yeah, listeners, if you want to watch along with us and revisit the series, and let's give it some more love, because I don't think it's been renewed for a third season yet, and it needs to be. So let's get some more eyes on it. Watch along with us.
It's gay. That I know.
It's so gay.
It's so gay. Don Mancini was given. It's like, here, just make whatever you want. Great. As far as from what I know.
So who are we talking with though on Monday, Mary Beth?
On Monday, we are chatting with John Swab, the writer and director of Candyland, the film that I have been preaching about. Wow, Jesus Christ, preaching makes sense in terms of Candyland.
Oh, true.
It's out. It is out today, as of the publication of this episode. It is out today, so watch it on digital on demand. Check it out, and then listen to our episode on Monday. We're talking to him about Reservoir Dogs.
We sure are.
We sure
Stuck
are.
in the middle with you.
Listeners, you've heard from us. We want to hear from you. Did you watch any of the things that we have watched this week and have thoughts? Do you have suggestions for movies we should be talking about? You can send us an email at scarredforlifepodcast@gmail.com, or you can reach out to us directly on Twitter. I am at MB McAndrews.
And I'm at Gaily Dreadful.
And of course, don't forget to follow the podcast on Twitter at Scarred Podcast.
Please don't forget to review, rate, subscribe. Join us on Patreon. You could be watching us do this. And also, if you're a Fresh Wound subscriber, our episode on The Orphanage just dropped earlier this week. And it's one of my favorite movies, so you should go listen to that.
Yeah, it's a really good episode. I edited it so recently. It's really good. But thank you to Eric Power for artwork. Thank you to Sean Keller for music. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Please stay safe out there. But most importantly, stay creepy.
And healthy.
Please. Don't do this. Don't be me.
But until next time.